All right, g'day everyone. Thanks very much for your time. It's great to be back. Obviously we're a Queensland-based or focused company. We've got copper assets up in Rockhampton, just north of here. So it's really nice to come up and catch up with a couple of our shareholders and things. Big thank you to Phil and Des for putting on another great event. So change of pace. Let's get into copper. I know we've had gold and energy and all sorts of things today, but before we kick off, who likes copper in the room? Hands up. Yep, there's always a lot of people who like copper. Great. Okay, I'll start by saying I don't know an analyst at all that doesn't like copper and where it's going. You know, I really think copper is a first quarter, second quarter next year story. We've obviously seen a great lift in the gold price. Back end of this year, which is great. We all know that after you've been through a few cycles, gold leads, and I really think copper's going to follow shortly thereafter. So. Before we get into the presentation today, I want you to really have a close think about copper developers, okay? There is deep underlying value in this space, okay? It has been a tough 2 years, but because of that, there's a fantastic opportunity to generate some real outsized, returns. Deep discounted valuations, particularly in the developers, so I'm pleased to present the QMines story today for consideration. All right, so very simple story, this one. We've got, we're about 3.5 years old. We listed about 3.5 years ago. As I said, we're a copper developer with assets in just out of the regional centre of Rockhampton. It's a large regional town of about 80,000 people, and it gives us a really low capital advantage here to develop these assets, in a low cost, low dilution way. We've got two projects. Our flagship project is our Mt Chalmers historic copper and gold mine. It is an absolute ripper, okay? It's high grade, it's shallow, it's obviously been a former producer, so there's a lot of sunk capital on site. This thing is going to generate a lot of value for shareholders as we take this down that development curve, okay? Important to note, we've just recently purchased our second asset, or finalised the purchase of our second asset rather. It's called Develin Creek. It's out to the west there. You see those three tenements out to the west. And here we've got two additional deposits which are very high grade. We're drilling one of those at the moment. It's called Scorpion, and we've got about 30 holes in the labs at the moment. We're drilling with haste. Believe me, if you saw, I'd encourage you to go and have a look. In fact, I've actually got a slide here I'll take you through in a second. The first two holes that came out of this deposit are rippers. Again, they're high grade, shallow, everything you want, and they're really going to add to the scale of this mine plan here at Mt Chalmers. So we've got 30 of those holes in the labs at the moment, and that information or that news flow is imminent. So I'd say, yeah, keep an eye on this space. There's some really good news on the way. Okay, so I'll go back. This is actually our head driller, Jason. I should start by saying we've really vertically integrated our operations. Okay, so we are a bit different. All right, so I came from the capital markets. We're very focused on cost. We're very focused on efficiency, and we're very focused on driving business plans forward fast and hard. Okay, Jason's a big part of the team. He's a fitter and turner. He runs our rigs and he does a great job. And he's a big part of how we deliver at QMines. And I want you to, if you take away one thing from this presentation today, I want you to know that we're a team that really moves things along with haste. Okay, so moving forward. Okay, so speed of execution. You'll hear me talk about this a lot. Okay, since listing, you can see there the achievements are far and wide reaching. Okay, we acquired the Mt Chalmers historic high-grade copper mine, and we completed the IPO. In 3.5 years, we've pushed out 6 resource updates, not 2, not 1. We've pushed out 6 resource updates. We've completed now a feasibility study, which we completed in 9 months, not 2 or 3 years, in 9 months. We've established our own base of operations. I mentioned that we've really worked hard on vertically integrating our operations so we can really drive down costs and really accelerate the business plan. We've got a mining licence application in now at our Mt Chalmers mine. We've made an awesome discovery at Artillery Road, which we'll have more to say later in the year. Made an all reserve statements, 30 kilometres of drilling, you name it, we've knocked it out of the park, okay? And that's not thanks to me, it's thanks to a great team that we have, led by Pete and James and Alyssa and all our guys. So we've done a fantastic job to really achieve what we've achieved. And this is our track record, okay? Since listing, we've now pushed out, as I said, 6 resource updates. So it's quite amazing when you think of that over just about 3-year period. Now we are working on our 7th and 8th as we speak. As I said, and I'll get to it in a second, we're drilling out our Scorpion deposit. We're drilling out the next one off the rank will be Sulphide City, and they're all about increasing the mine plan here at Mt Chalmers, which I'll get to shortly. Now, the PFS which we put out in April, the 30th of April, was fantastic, okay? It shows that one of our 6 deposits here at these 2 projects already generates just under $400 million NPV8, not a cheeky NPV 5 or 6 where, you know, we're really trying to, you know, this is very conservative. You know, this Mt Chalmers deposit is fantastic, okay? The great thing about it is we're really high grading the deposit really early in the mine plans. Those first 3 years are fantastic, okay? We pay back capital very quick, 1.8 years, best in class on capital payback. We've got a very low cost, you know, capex here of $192 million, which we think is very achievable. Fantastic returns, 54% IRR, internal rate of return, basically meaning we've got, you know, awesome returns through the whole life of mine. And I'd encourage you to think about that, because that's really important in terms of when you're in a cyclical business, you know, making sure that this business still makes a lot of money, even at those 2 tough years in every typical cycle. So this is a sort of asset that's going to survive the cycle and generate returns. Doesn't matter whether the prices are up, down, left or right, okay? And we've already got a 10.4-year mine life based on a 1 million tonne per annum plant that we're designing at the mine site. So now you'll see there, you'll see a dotted line with arrows up. I'll be candid and say we're not quite there yet. Okay, we've been pushing really hard. We've got to about 10,000 tonnes of copper equivalent production, you know, so far. And as you can see on this slide, you know, if you look at the peer group, you know, to be institutional quality, to be the scale that we want to get to, we think we need to be at 15 to 20,000 tonnes. So that's why we're working really hard on trying to grow that, you know, grow that resource base, grow the mine life, and really generate some stronger returns for our shareholders. So I will say at 10,000 tonnes, the business makes phenomenal returns and for shareholders, but we think there's additional benefits in terms of adding a little bit more scale to this to drive down costs and really, you know, improve returns. Okay, if you look at the peer group, you've got you know, the 4 pure play copper producers there, AIC to the top to Metals Acquisition Corp. You know, these are just focused on the Australian projects, the larger Australian projects, and you can see there that we're at about 10,000 tonnes mine life for about 10 years of copper equivalent production, with AIC at about 14. So we just want to get a little bit larger. We think this project or group of deposits have the ability to be really top 4 copper producers over time. The other thing I'll mention here is that we are very unique from the fact that this will all come from open pittable material. Okay, all those companies you see on the slide there are all basically generating, you know, or producing copper from underground mines. Okay, and there has been some challenges, particularly in Queensland, with weather and all those sort of things that occur being underground. We're going to have really low cost open pit operations that we can really scale and generate more returns for our shareholders. All right, so how are we going to do it? Okay, so the 3-year vision is very simple. Okay, as I say, if you just take an average over the PFS initial, you know, copper equivalent production, we'll push out about 10,000 tonnes of copper equivalent per annum just from Mt Chalmers, one of our 6 known deposits. Okay, by incorporating those other 5 deposits and a little, you know, cheeky M&A on the side that we're having a look at the moment, you know, there's an opportunity to really grow about 50% to the overall production profile here. Okay, and as you saw in that previous slide, it really puts us in, you know, in good stead in terms of those largest copper producers with Australian-based projects, which is great. Now, obviously, we've got a lot of greenfields exploration upside here, so we've got a lot of things to go and chase, and we think that we can generate some more copper equivalent production on the back of hopefully a little bit of exploration success. All right, so getting into the detail a little more, brownfields exploration, how are we going to do it? Okay, now this I want you to take away from this presentation that this growth is locked in, okay? It's not subject to your normal exploration risk where we're, putting circles on a map and, let's go and drill that target, let's hope it comes up. We're drilling out 5 known deposits, okay? We've already got a lot of, drilling into them. Some we've done ourselves, some historically. So we know the tonnes, we know the grade. The question is, can we scale it up a little? And we've obviously got to do some infill drilling to bring it into reserves, okay, bring it into the mine plan. So this business does not have the same risk profile that you typically see in the exploration space, okay, and we've designed it specifically for that, for that reason, okay. Scorpion is the first one we're drilling at the moment. We've got about, as I say, just under 30 holes in the labs as we speak. Lots of news flow that's imminent, okay, and I'll get to it in a second, but you'll see the first 2 drill holes shortly. That came out of Scorpion, and they were rippers. So very high grade, shallow. They're obviously going to really add to this mine plan at Mt Chalmers. You can see after that we'll move to Sulphide City, which is right next door. It's a little bigger, again very good grade, bit higher grade than our Mt Chalmers deposit. So it should really improve the economics, and then we'll move through the remainder. This is what they look like. You can see there Scorpion on the left-hand side and Sulphide City on the right. We've started at Scorpion because it's a little shallower. We're obviously focused on open pittable material that's really low cost and generates some really strong returns. So we'll focus on Scorpion first. We'll then move into Sulphide City. In fact, we'll get a couple of holes this last swing before we get some elevated rain this time of year before the wet season comes in. And so we should have another, hopefully 20 days of drilling to add on top of those additional, 30 holes that are in the labs at the moment. If we move down to Mt Chalmers, again, we've got a very strong growth profile here, okay? If you look at that circle around the historic Mt Chalmers mine, where we've got the PFS, those 3 additional deposits are all within about 1.5 k's of the Mt Chalmers mine site, okay? So they're not, 500 k's away and talking about how we're going to truck them in and all that sort of stuff. They're very close, they're very logical. Woodshaft will be the first one we'll get into. It's shallow, it's fantastic, got some really nice mining width, fantastic grade again, and again we'll add years to that mine life, which is great. Now here's the sizzle. All right, so this is the initial drill results at Scorpion. I can't quite see it from here, but I'll turn around a little. Here you go, 17 metres at 2.88% copper, 0.61 gold, 21 grams silver and 2% zinc. Okay, 31 metres at 2.35 copper. I won't go through it. They're fantastic. Okay, these are very high grade, shallow deposits. We've got a lot more to say about this. Obviously, there's only 2 holes, so we'll have a lot more to say imminently about this as these next results roll through. But these 2 deposits up at Develin Creek are fantastic. They're really going to add to the mine plan and the grade of the ore that we mine. Another one, Woodshaft, I mentioned before, we have got in and drilled this once before. It's in the inferred category, so obviously we need to incorporate it into the indicated category so we can transfer to reserves. Some really nice wide hits here, very shallow open pit deposit. Obviously it's a bit more gold rich here than copper. Some of these deposits are slightly different, but again, fantastic asset that's really going to add, at least we think, additional year to the mine plan at Mt Chalmers. All right, so greenfields exploration. Now, I mentioned before that we want to get to a minimum of 15,000 tonnes copper equivalent production per annum, okay? Now, we think that that's institutional quality, but we don't think it's going to stop there, okay? I've got Peter Caristo in the audience, who's our technical director. He loves this stuff. We've invested in the greenfields exploration heavily. We flew a very large helicopter-borne EM survey over this Mt Chalmers project, and we came up with 40 EM anomalies, okay? And for those of you who don't know, these VMS deposits are known for clustering, and they're known for having multiple deposits within these sort of districts, all right? So we've got a lot of things here, without going into too much detail, we've got a lot of things here that we can chase to really grow that mining profile over time, which is great. So that's a really quick overview. Thank you very much for it's nice to see a good audience. I'd like to think you've come to see me, but I'm sure it's just the air conditioning here is quite nice. But look, thanks very much for your time, and again, thanks to Phil and Des for having us today. It's been a great conference.